honorable members, I have stated in the past and now reiterate today that in the face of undisputed evidence or credible information on corruption, I will not hesitate to take decisive action. Accordingly, I now direct, in furtherance of the principles enshrined in Article 10 of the Constitution on transparency and accountability, and based on new information provided by investigative agencies and partner nations, that the procuring agencies within the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum immediately cancel the ongoing procurement process for the JKIA expansion public-private partnership transaction, as well as Let me repeat this for clarity. I have said that because of the information that has been provided to us by partner nations, I have directed agencies within the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum to immediately cancel the ongoing procurement process for JKI expansion public-private partnership transaction, as well as the recently concluded Ketrago transmission in public partnership contract. And immediately commence the process of onboarding alternative partners, because these are important projects. Lakini kwa sababu nimefika hapa leo, nataka niungane na gavana wetu. Hawa watoto wa PMC na wale vijana wengine walikuwa hapo, wamefanya kazi mzuri, na mimi naona wako na uniform nzuri. Sakaja amewapanga kiasi, lakini mimi nitawapangia uniform ingine mpya. Na kwa hivyo kiongozi wa hapa tajipanga, ngojeni, mambo yenu bado. So hawa watoto tawatafutia shilingi 1,300 saizi tununue, wanunulie uniform. Kuna mtu atapanga uniform ya hawa watoto, sio? Na nyinyi pia ni wanunulie uniform ingine mpya, ndio? Kabla sijatoka hapa, si ndio? Lakini kazi yenu ni kumwimbia Mungu, sio kuimbia binadamu. Kumwimbia nini? Mungu. Kumwimbia Mungu. Sawa? Alafu nimeambiwa na huyu mtu chairman, naitwa Isanda. Ameniambia mnajenga nyumba ya father hapa, si ndio? Na mimi ni mtu ya kujenga. Najenga affordable housing, najenga ingine. Hiyo ni kazi yangu. Hiyo ya kujenga mimi naelewa. Sawa? So hiyo nyumba ya father pale Bwana Isanda, sawa? Utakuja kuniona Monday ama Tuesday, takutafutia shilingi 500,000. Na hiyo pesa, nasikia mkubwa, hiyo pesa nitafuatilia. Ukipiga kona hivi kidogo, utakutana na mimi. Tumesikia mimi nilisema mambo ni matatu. Ujichunge. Si ndio? Sawa sawa. Alafu mambo yale mengine nitapanga. Kwa sababu niliambiwa pia mnataka basi. Sasa hii mambo yote itawezekana siku moja. Hata nyinyi kwa mpango yenu. Wacha niende, unajua mimi ni mkulima So saa hii tunavuna. Saa hii tunavuna ngano, tunavuna namna hii. Nikirudi Januari nitarudi na basi yenu. Nitakuja ndawaletea basi. No.
Welcome to the Fireside, the home of politics, policy and polity. Now, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops in the last couple of days has issued a policy statement which has rocked the boat, and we are privileged and happy to have Father John Weboootsa to shed more light on these subjects. Father John Weboootsa, welcome.
Thank you very much.
You know, the training of a Catholic priest is a very complicated task for majority of people who don't know the structures of the Catholic Church. What does it take for one to become a Catholic priest?
To be a Catholic priest, actually, first of all, is not an easy thing, because we are called fathers for a reason.
Why are you called fathers?
You are called fathers because we are supposed to play that role of the fathers. You have to take care of the society, not the father as a male, but the father figure. So to ensure that whoever is under our care is taken care of, and is protected, and is given the chance to be the best of themselves. Now you need a lot of training to do that, and also a lot of wisdom. So after school, you need to have gotten at least a minimum grade of a C+. Why C+? Because we go to study in universities. And the universities, they cannot take you if you've not qualified, especially now. Before they could, but now, if you're not qualified to have a minimum grade of a university level, national university level. So you must have a C+. Then you go, and then the first stage is, it depends now. If you're a diocesan, they call it a spiritual year, whereby now you're taking about 1 year in terms of trying to discern more and more if this is your life or not. If you are a religious, for us many times we begin with philosophy. You study philosophy, you get a degree in a bachelor's of arts in philosophy. And you see, actually part of your vocation is your education. And they normally tell us to be a saint is good, but to be saint and capable is better. So being a saint is not enough, no? So for a religious, for a missionary, you must be a saint and capable. So you must also perform in class. And actually many people drop out, not because they are not saints, but because they can't qualify. I mean, they don't perform in class. Because whatever comes later, if you are not well prepared, you will suffer a lot. So after the philosophy degree, we go to what is called a novitiate. The novitiate takes 2 years. Now, in the first 10 months, you're just staying inside, and you also try to discern, is this the life I want to do? Then there's catechesis, there's prayer life, and so on. And then after 10 months, you're taken for a mission for another 6 months to see what the mission looks like, and so on. And then you come back again to the novitiate, you're prepared for the vows. Then you take your vows after, the second year. So you take your vows, they're temporary vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. No? And every year you renew it for 4 years. It could be more, but normally 4 years. So after that, you go and study theology, which is also at a degree level. No? You get your bachelor's of art in theology, and then also you can specialize in something depending on how you perform also. And people specialize on different things. Like myself, I specialize in social studies, no, and trying issues of development, issues of supporting communities, no. And so you do your bachelor's in theology, and then you can also do you can specialize according to where you want to be. So then after 10 years in total, then you are ordained a deacon, and then you're ordained a priest. And then you are assigned to a mission where you are sent. No.
Yeah. Now that brings us to the germane issue. Yeah. The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops a few weeks ago issued a statement which seems to have made part of the establishment uncomfortable. So this question, what is the relationship between priesthood and politics?
You know, you cannot separate priesthood from politics, because politics is about people, and you are a priest for the people. Even if you are in a monastery, I mean, you are there praying for the people. No? So you cannot be disentangled with politics. Look at Jesus. Jesus never said, look, let Herod be where he is and I am where I am. He was challenging the system, the structures. So the priest is a person who puts politics where it's supposed to be. Politics is supposed to serve the person, serve the human being. And actually, we are told that one of the highest works of charity is to do politics well. No?
What does that mean in normal English, doing politics well?
Doing politics well means ensure justice is done. Ensure the right things are done at the right moment. Ensure goods get to the people. Ensure their social amenity. Ensure that you are accountable to the people. That's because to be a good politician means you are actually a steward. You are a servant of the people who have put you where you are. Yeah. And the moment you start to be that, then you have no reason to be there. Yeah.
Now, talking about servants, when we are growing up, we remember people like Cardinal Tunga, Bishop Ndigi Mwananzeki, Father Trizia from Thika, Bishop Muge.
Yeah.
And these are people who spoke the truth to power. They did not beat around the bush. And as you've indicated, that the priests take 3 vows. One would actually argue that majority were very poor. We are told that when Cardinal Tunga passed on, his account had less than 5,000 bob. How come we don't have those faces today? There are people who are committed. The way you've indicated that are serving humanity is a very high and noble calling.
Yeah, we do have some few people who are committed. However, also I can say that there are temptations, I mean, to materialism, to the secular world. You know, the moment you take poverty out of faith, out of religious life, out of priesthood, then priesthood stops to have a meaning. These people were prophets because they were poor. Poor in the sense that they are not linked to any material. You know, when you're linked to material things, your prophetic message is watered down. And that's why Jesus was telling us, you have to leave everything and come and follow me. So you're provided for everything, but you don't own anything. That's what's called poverty. But now you see there's that temptation that some of the religious leaders, I want to have money in my bank account. When I go to give what do you call it, Nchango somewhere, I have to be known. Father John has given 30,000 shillings. That is wrong, no? Because the religious person is basically a poor person. The wealth is the message that you carry and that you share. So if you look at Ndingi Mwananzeki, look at Cardinal Maurice Otunga, look at Bishop Muge, they had all these material things around them, but then they were witnessing to their faith in their simplicity. Because you take simplicity away, then your witness doesn't count.
Now, in the last couple of days, with the emergence of many TV stations, when you wake up on a Sunday morning, you get a lot of prosperity gospel churches. There are people asking citizens that please send something on Pesa, then I pray for you, send something on Pesa, then blessings will come your way. What is the impact of the prosperity gospel in Kenya today?
You know, that is one thing that is killing our faith. Because you see, our faith comes from, if you say we are following Jesus, this was a very simple man. I mean, that time they were rich people. They were people with power. So Jesus could have been a rich person, but he never was, because he chose not to be. Jesus could have been born in a better place, but he chose not to be. So when we start doing what Jesus never did in his name, that is the greatest act of hypocrisy. And definitely that's what has done our message. And that's why we've put a lot of trouble now to convince people that we're actually the prophets. Because our style of life is not according to the person that we are claiming to follow. So, I mean, these things of, we call them prosperity, I mean, prosperity gospel, where did that word come from? No? Prosperity is not a biblical word. It's not a religious word. No? What are you prospering to? No?
Now, before Fanya Mambo comes in, there's this thing people refer to as the evangelical church in Kenya, and some of them have been very proactive in politics. Do you think these are the religious or church leaders that are, from the way you've explained it, because of the impact of the material accusation, they don't have capacity to look at the administration in the eye and make their positions known?
Definitely. You see, if you put yourself around money, no, you own a chopper, I don't know, you own a Range Rover, you own so much money. How do you call someone to account? People that maybe sometimes you rub shoulder with, you play golf with, and so on. No, how would you call them to account? It's difficult, no. And that's why I say you put riches in our life, you are killing our witness. So if you have a pastor or a priest who is living a very lavish kind of a life, what credibility does he have to call to account a government that is corrupt? He is a beneficiary of that thing. And then where is give whatever you have to, I mean, go and sell what you have, give it to the poor, come and follow me. Where is that thing? No? So I want to own I want to own estates, I want to own so many things. No? And to the point that I spend more time looking at my property more than the work I'm supposed to do.
Now, that is how the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops comes in. A few days ago, the bishops issued a statement which seems to have rattled everybody. And then people at some stage said that the Catholic Church had been quiet for a while. So is it the case that for a long time you've been quiet? And how come this statement, because the bishops have been issuing statements on a regular basis, how come this particular one made everybody nervous in Kenya?
You know, okay, when people say that the church has been quiet, first of all, they have to define what is church. You know, it's very easy to say churches. I can say this market is full of thieves. No? So I mean that everybody is a thief in that market. Mm-hmm. No? So one has to be clear what is church. No? Then secondly, yes, we should have been making some intervention in some areas, but we didn't. But also at the same time, we're not looking to be popular. Sometimes also being unpopular is a statement in itself. Because we don't go by what comes in the news and so on. Yes, we have a responsibility to point out things that are wrong. Sometimes we've been scared to do that. Or sometimes we've just been complacent. But that also doesn't mean that we do things for the camera. There are many things many Catholics do, and they're not, and you know very well, there are things that people do, but they're not seen outside there. There are witnesses that people make, but they're not seen outside there. And the reason why we reach where we are is because there's been a witness that has been building up. You know? So when my faith is made popular, I should be very careful. When somebody said, Father John is a good guy, this guy is a holy man, and so on, I should be very, very careful.
And worried.
Mm-hmm. Because Jesus was never popular. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. Now that I want to be popular in his name, a person who was never popular, there's a problem. So I'm not worried that whether people say we've been silent or not. I'll be worried if we do not do our duty. Yeah.
Father John Weboootsa has been very elaborate on the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops. Fanya Mambo, what do you make of that letter which was issued by the bishops and the reaction that followed that letter?
Thank you. Let me start by saying that I'm a very staunch Catholic. But I attended Mass today.
This morning.
And today is the Sunday of Christ the King. And Christ cannot be king in our lives if we are doing the things that we are doing today. What was given in that letter of the bishops, I have always said, is an experiential position of the Catholic Church. Why I call it experiential? The Catholic Church runs close to 31% of the schools in this country.
31%?
31%. Over 7,700 schools. So when they say there is no capitation going to schools, they are not speaking like a church I won't mention that doesn't own even a single to pay for toilet or something, that has done nothing for the community. They are speaking as people who will open a school tomorrow. And the nun in charge or the person in charge of that school is calling and saying, we are not sure of children's next meal tomorrow because we have not been able to pay our suppliers for these things. They are speaking from an experiential point because they are saying we run St. Mary's Hospital, we run 400 and something clinics, they run dispensaries, and they run 69 big hospitals, starting with Mater Hospital and a few others.
69
big ones that have provided service and medicine and bandage and everything to people under the name of NHIF and SHE and SHA, for which services they have not been remunerated. And so when they say that SHE and SHA and Taifa Care and whatever you want to call it is not good and it's not working for this country, they are speaking from an experiential part. I would excuse some churches when they say the Catholic Church is making noise for nothing, because it's probably a church that doesn't have even a nursery school. So they wouldn't understand what is government capitation to schools. And they wouldn't know what it feels like to be a school principal and you are staring at the possibility of boys going on strike because it's Tuesday and you don't know what they'll eat on Friday. Because there's no capitation to school. They have no idea what it feels like to see patients queuing in a hospital and you can't give them painkillers, paracetamols, because you have given everything you had in your stores. And where you expected money to come from, which is the government of Kenya, it has not come through. So I worry deeply when I see people who have not experienced what bad governance can do talk about bad governance. These ones have felt it. And I can tell you, as someone who had once shown political ambition, and I still do, and you wake up in the morning and you've been added to 7 WhatsApp groups, and they're all fundraising groups, and half of them are for people who are in hospital. Yesterday, there was a burial in Moranga for an MCA. Guess what? You remember UDA, the leading party, having harambees to raise medical funds for a person who was one of their own and who they called a luminary of their own, yet their own SHE and SHA and Taifa Care and NHIF could not pay a cent in his bill. So if they couldn't do it for an MCA, they called one of their very own, a gallant son of UDA, and all the praises they heaped upon him, may he rest in peace. How then do you say that that thing is working? So the letter from the Catholic bishops I would submit was an experiential letter. It was a letter about what they are going through and what is happening to their institutions. I told you if they were to close their schools, 3 out of 10 children in this country would not have a place to call school on in January. So let us have that respect for the church because of where they are coming from. And when they own and run 31% of the schools in this country, it means a 31% failure on the part of government to do what it's supposed to do, because provision of education is a government function. Oh, and I forgot to speak. You know, they also run universities. The Catholic University, Tangaza, and so on and so forth. Strathmore. So when you speak of this university funding model that is funny from whichever angle you look at it from, if you decide to look at it from behind, from in front, from all sides, and it is horrible because I saw twins born of the same mother, same family. One put in cluster 1 and one put in cluster 5. You know, I give birth to 2 children. all with my last name, Fanya Mambo. And they go and apply for university funding model. And they state that they have the same parents, same house. Kama unaishi South B, unasema South B. You know, and it goes to people who pretend to be normal because they can't be. And one is put in cluster 1, the other one is put in cluster 5. Children of the same mother. So it's a horrible university funding from which. So the Catholic Church is feeling the pinch from the schools level, from the university level, from the hospital level, from every other service that you. If churches were allowed to provide roads, I think they would also be having a problem because the Catholic Church would provide roads to the facilities where they run. So I think I actually sympathize with them, not because I'm a Catholic, but because of what they have done for this country and what they get in return for what they have done for this country.
Yeah, also just to add that the Catholic Church, is big time in real estate, in the insurance sector, financial services, banking.
Yeah, just to add something, what the bishop have written is not something that came out because of what's happening now. It's over the years. We do this as our call. But it reaches a time when, as Father Mambo said, you just don't have. No? I cannot see this child not coming to school because there's no food to give to them. I cannot see this patient here dying because there's nothing I can do about it. No? So whatever the bishop has said, it did not begin yesterday. And the people who are busy criticizing them, I was reading, for example, like these ministers, when we began putting schools and hospitals, they were not even born. They found them there.
Maybe a number of them have attended Catholic schools.
Exactly.
The beneficiaries.
So they should do a study first of all, because when I was reading their critique, I said, but from the Minister of Health, I said, but does she know what she's talking about? And the bishops will never write anything, will never put statistics unless the study is done. So you cannot rubbish the numbers they give, just like that. So, and I think it's a very big mistake to try to compare the bishops or our bishops as a group of people who didn't know what they were saying. So it's actually the church is talking about her own experience, which is the experience of all the Kenyans. Yeah.
Now, Fanya Mambo, yes. The President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, last Sunday went to Soweto, and he made a donation with Governor Sakaja. But Archbishop Philip Anyolo said, no thanks. It was nice doing business, but we are not taking up the donation. And he went ahead and said that political leaders must not use the church to advance political interest. What did you make of Archbishop Anyolo's intervention?
First is the person of Kithure Kindiki, who went there and tried to qualify what he was doing, saying, this is not harambe, this is sadaka. Stop it right there. Ni Mkristo mgani mwingine alitangaza sadaka? Why do you want to come and tell people the president's sadaka is 5 million and my sadaka is 2 million? Who cares? The Bible says when you give with the right hand, the left hand should not know. If you are giving sadaka, quietly come, get the basket, put in the money, that's it. But the fact that you are announcing it means you want people to clap for you. And you want people to hear that you've given 7 million. And you want to get political mileage out of it and a benefit out of it. And that shall not be allowed. Take your money. You bought Christians in 2021 coming to 2022. You will not buy them again. At least not through the Catholic Church. I heard there's a church that was given money, I won't mention them. And they said ile kitu tunaweza rudisha ni shukrani peke yake. And some of them, yes, and some of them went ahead to say the one that the Catholic Church has refused should be brought to them. Mm-hmm. But this is the kind of thing we are talking about. That if you want to come and give, please, you're allowed to give. But kama ni sadaka, weka kwa kipakapu kama kila mtu. There's an M-Pesa pay bill. People have always given, when you have billions of money, and then you give 5 million and you want people to clap for you, as a percentage of what you own, you've given peanuts. Because there's someone whose account has got only 2,000 bob, and they've given 200 shillings, which means they've given past 10% of everything they had. So you've not even given 0.01111% because you fleeced billions out of the country.
Yeah, it remains one of that
By the way,
parable.
on that Sunday, the two combined gave 13 million. 7 million plus that 5 million. That is the president's salary in 1 year. Why should we be comfortable with a president who is able to give the equivalent of his salary for 1 year in one Sunday? Why? Where is this money coming from?
He's a businessman.
No.
He's a farmer.
No. And that is why we need to start saying we want a president whose primary job is serving Kenyans. You cannot be a farmer, a businessman, a hotel owner, a chicken water, and then you're president, because your focus again is never on the flock that you're supposed to lead. Shepherds, have you ever seen a shepherd living home with cows, like the Maasai shepherd, and then at the same time he's rushing to go and check on his M-Pesa, his butchery, his matatu, his mechanic who is telling him his probox? A shepherd focuses on his flock from 8 to 5. And that's the kind of president we are looking for. If you feel that you're a president who can be able to give 13 million shillings in 1 day, which is your salary for a year, then you're not the right president for us. And by the way, if you're deputy president of the Republic of Kenya and you've not even earned your first salary and you're donating 2 million, we also have a problem with you.
But you remember when
and Sakaja, this is Kilimani. I think I need to take Sakaja to Kilimani. I don't think he leaves his house. He needs to see how our roads look like. The amount of money he was giving in that Harambe, some of these roads just need a grader. Fuel and someone inside. The Kando has got all the equipment, even without buying anything. They can't fuel county graders, Zimelana in various parking lots, to fix the roads in Kilimani. And you are here donating money to a church in Soweto. Who asked you? Go and do your work as governor. That's all we elected you for. But nobody elected you to go and give money in Harambes. We elected you to fix our roads. We elected you to fix our lighting and do all the things that a governor should do. Do your work. You don't need to bribe people in a church.
Now, see, also just there on the Sadaka. You know, in the book of Isaiah, you know, God is clear. He says, "It's not your sacrifice that I need; it's mercy that I need." And then he talks about people giving sacrifice with dirty hands. Now, this is a gentleman who people are crying to them over the lives of people who have died on the streets. You know, and now if you're not remorseful, what are you going to do in the church? No? And you know, actually, Archbishop Philip Anyolo did them really a good favor in returning that money. But the real thing is, you do not have a credibility of giving the Sadaka to the church. And now, if you cannot feel your sin, no? If you cannot feel that, look, people have died and I could have done something, we've never seen any of them crying, no? You've never seen any of them really feeling sorry for what had happened to the people. So what kind of a Sadaka are you taking to the church? God doesn't need the money, but you need God's mercy.
But Father John, one would pose, I don't know whether it's a philosophical question or a theological question, that the church is actually meant for sinners. So exactly. When a sinner goes to a church, why would that raise eyebrows?
But you see, that's one thing is for a sinner to go to the church. The other thing is when you go and offer sacrifice, when you are unworthy, it's clear. No, if my hands are dirty, right? Now, it doesn't matter what I give to the church. I need to clean my hands. What did Jesus say? If I go to offer my sacrifice, then I realize that I've done something wrong to my brother. I leave the thing there and I go to finish with them. I mean, if I were those two gentlemen, I would not even face God.
But another question, again, it's a philosophical, maybe a moral or even a religious question. Do church leaders or religious leaders have got capacity to make judgments that this human being or this politician has got dirty hands, therefore we are not going to accept his donation, or he must go and sanitize himself first before coming to church?
If I
are you not supposed to welcome? Is that not part of your calling?
But now, you know, if I go and kill someone, let me just say, if I go and stab somebody, you've seen me stabbing. You know, I've stabbed a person. So you don't need any evidence. So is it not clear what has happened?
But I come to church for confession, then I come and I give my sadaka.
There's something, I think, if you allow me, Dismus, to walk into this. I mean, let's agree that once you come into church, regardless of what you've done out there, because none of us is perfect, you will not corrupt our morals. You will come to church, we accept you're a sinner. I mean, in that church, there's someone who aborted last night, someone who killed last night. There's a lot of things that happen in church, and people are there. And the priest is not a God to know that this person was killing last night. But when you come into that church, don't come and say, because I'm a billionaire, now we'll use my rules. You will stay within the rules that apply within that church. The problem we had is that we had people who felt that they were in positions of power, and therefore when they come to church, they will corrupt their way. In fact, that sometimes in church, we reserve seats for people we consider important at the front, so that even if you come late, you disturb everybody else as you go to the front. I think we need to learn from the Muslims. You come in as a Muslim, you're a minister, you're a president. If there were people sitting at the front, there's no space reserved for you at the front. You will join the rest of the people and bend like them and worship like them, like every other Muslim. I think let's not create special. In church, everybody's supposed to be equal, as much as that can possibly be. And in the eyes of God, we are all equal. So you come, but when you get here, boss, there's a way we handle sadaka. That's how we will treat you. There's a way we handle mchango. That's how we'll treat you. And if you don't feel that you're comfortable, there's another church next door that probably might accept that.
Now, talking about reserving seats for people in church, again, I remember when Cardinal Otunga was the head of the Catholic Church in Kenya, and we had President Moi. I do not recall at a single event when President Moi addressed Christians inside church. I'm making reference to the All Family Basilica. The few times I attended service and President Moi was in attendance, he never, ever addressed Christians while in church. He addressed them when the service was over. Now, as a Catholic priest, when did you change this to allow politicians address people? Because sometimes you go to other churches, the religious leaders will have 1 hour, then political leaders will have 5 hours. So, do people go to church or they go for a political rally?
Yeah. One thing, clearly it's wrong for a politician or anybody to address the people in the middle of Mass. It's wrong. The Mass has to finish, and the address has to be outside the church. It's clear in the rules of liturgy. That's it. So it's a mistake. Whether you're president or wherever you are, before the Mass is over, you cannot address people. So if I as a priest, I invite the person, I'm making a mistake. It's wrong. The rules are clear, and also, that's a place of worship. And then normally you are told they should talk outside. And even the bishops, they said these things some years ago when they did their meeting, they put a letter that they should not address people in the church, but they should address outside. Now, we make our mistakes.
As priests.
As priests. Mm-hmm. I want to be popular. I want to be given, I don't know, whatever it is, no? And that's wrong, no? So it is not part of our priesthood to allow a politician to. So if I, as Father John, I want this guy to talk in church because he's going to favor me or give me his brown envelope, that's wrong. Actually, they're not supposed to do that. And I can say that free of contradiction, it remains wrong for anybody, and whatsoever a politician, to address people within a liturgy. We have to do it after the final blessings. People have sung the song, and the address should be outside the church, never inside. So it's wrong. It's a mistake. Yeah.
But that is the obtaining situation every day.
It is, but
both in the Catholic Church and other churches.
It's like the issues of property. No, it is wrong for a priest to own property, but we own properties, right? It's wrong for a priest to run businesses and so on. It's clearly wrong, but we do it, no? But it will never be right because we do it.
Does the bishop have capacity to discipline, or maybe, I mean, are there any procedures for a priest who has received a letter from the bishop, some guidance, who goes against the guidance?
You know, the bishops will give the guidelines. They'll ensure that the right thing should be done, but they'll not follow each priest wherever they are. No? He can only see the priest who is with him there. But if Father John is in Mombasa, there is in Tongwe, I do whatever I'm doing, the bishop will never see me there. I can do all my what do you call it, my funny things. No? And that one now, it goes to my other point. When you see a priest making a mistake, you don't say the church does that. That's for the John messing up things. You know, people normally make these generic statements. If you have an issue with your pastor or with your priest, deal with that. Don't put the whole church there. No. If you go to a parish that someone has refused to bury your relative until you pay the sadaka, don't start saying these days Catholic Church is corrupt. No, somewhere else somebody is living very well. So you deal with your pastor wherever you are.
But how many Catholic priests do we have in Kenya?
Now,
just an estimate.
Of course, we are almost 1,000. Yes, and if you put all of us, you're over 1,000.
Physician and missionary.
Physician and missionary put together, yes. And those were in the country and those were outside the country. Yeah.
Okay, now before we go to the next topic, after the Catholic Church pronounced itself, then there was a reaction from the government, and then other churches and other denominations followed suit. A rational man would ask, why did they have to wait for the Catholic Church to make a statement first? Did they fear? Were they waiting for a reaction? Because even after the Catholic Church made a statement, it took a while for these other churches to pronounce themselves. They actually pronounced themselves after President Ruto said the Catholic Church has raised some valid issues and we are going to work on them. Fanya, Mambo, let's start with you.
I will hold brief for them. You know, some of them went to Bomas of Kenya when President Ruto was declared. And we didn't know whether that was a church position or it was an individual position. I think we expect so much from some of these churches because some of them have not even been able to organize themselves properly. Even within their own hierarchy and structure, they are still struggling. So sometimes we expect too much from them. And then some of them have come from very serious money fights. Before they even come to make this statement, they are calling each other and saying, drop that money fight first, come, let's address an issue that is here. So there is a difficulty in coherence in terms of even putting together a statement because they are all doing all other sorts of things. The Catholic Church has had its structures over time. Close to 2,000 years, you'd say. So these are structures that have been tested and systems that have been tested. Some churches, you hear Church of East Africa. I don't want to mention the first one. So it tells you, some even used to be called Church of the Province of Uganda, Church of the Province of, and some are even now independent, completely independent of the white man and completely independent of thought and common sense. So for you to expect them to...
Independence of common sense.
Yes. For you to... You're expecting too much from them sometimes. Because even they themselves are still trying to plan around and figure out what they are doing. And they're wondering, how did these people end up having so many schools and we don't have even a hall we can do? All our money we collect and we buy cars for ourselves and shoes for our wives and we parade them for congregants to see. It's a very difficult expectations of us from them.
So we should manage our expectations.
Let's just say,
or lower expectations.
Let's just say the fact that they were even able to come together and have a press conference and address this issue is still a good thing.
They deserve a pat on the back for that.
They just deserve a pat on the back. They have a long way to go to put themselves together, to put their house in order, to have systems, to have somebody they can call their main bishop, to have somebody they can say is in charge of this diocese. At least the Anglican Church is almost there. The Presbyterian Church follows in order thereafter. But some of these others are way too far. You cannot be able to do what an institution that is 2,000 years has been able to do over a period of... Tulipata independence when?
In 1963.
And you still have a wife at home you're managing and children. You know, the priests don't even have that other burden that they have. So let's just give them the benefit of they are young. Let's call them toddlers compared to the Catholic Church in terms of how long they've been in existence and how well their systems have been tested. Let's not be too ambitious. I think that they've even tried. Yeah, that's my submission.
Father John?
Yeah, also, I don't want to make a judgment on anyone. But when you say that you want to witness Jesus, you want to be a priest of Jesus, it's not an easy thing. Unajua Mswahili alisema maji ukiavulia nguo yaoge. No. But you know, when you say I want to follow this guy and you don't want to live the radicality, I cannot understand how you want to follow Jesus and if you don't live his radicality, things won't work. Now, also that applies to us. It's all of us. I mean, anybody who say he wants to follow Christ.
As priests and pastors.
Yes. So, our bishops, they are our shepherds. They lead us, no? And we obey them, right? And when they come to a kind of a prophetic stance, it doesn't mean they don't have different views. They do have different views. And they come to agree on one view that is good for the common good. One of the principles of the social teaching of the Catholic Church is the principle of the common good, where something is good for all. Some of them have had to sacrifice their own positions to hold what everybody else holds. And let's talk together. Yeah. So that is something that tells you now, when I have to let go of my own individual position for the sake of everyone, then now I say, okay, now I am a shepherd here. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Father John, you indicated that priesthood and politics is connected.
Yeah.
So you must have followed the State of the Nation address.
Yeah.
What jumped out of the State of the Nation address by President Ruto towards the end of, say this week or last week, the State of the Nation address? What jumped out?
You know, when I was following him, first of all, I wasn't happy because this is a man who should be remorseful right now, but he's not remorseful.
That President Ruto should be remorseful?
Yes. I mean, I cannot be in charge of people who have gone through so much as Kenyans have gone through, and I speak with a lot of confidence. I cannot even praise myself. But where do you get the energy to do that? No? I mean, don't you think about all these other people? So then you keep on lying. Yeah. You tell us lies. The issue of Adani, was it because of the Americans that he said there's no Adani? I mean, your own people have been telling you, your own call them children or brothers or sisters, you don't want to listen to them. So you need an Uncle Sam to tell you, then you say our what? Political friends, no? So, I mean, and then you say, I'm listening. I mean, who is fooling who? No? When you say, I'm listening to people, so I mean, that's a joke.
Who is Uncle Sam for people who don't know that terminology?
The United States, the Americans, no? Because they had elected this Gautam Adani and so on. So they say we've received some information from our friends, no? These kind of things. But your own people were telling you before, this thing is not good for us. And even if it is not good for you, and you say you listen to them, whether the Americans say it or not, no? So it is not, okay, the members of parliament who stood up with the standing ovation, no? I mean, that's a joke, no?
Now, you've raised a very pertinent issue, Father John, that one of the members of parliament, I think is Honorable Kagushia from Nyeri, he did a news conference immediately after that, and he said that there's something fundamentally wrong with the members of the National Assembly. That when President Ruto said that Adani is the right way to go, all of them were aligned. They gave him a standing ovation. Then he says he has cancelled the contracts. Then there is a standing ovation. Fanya Mambo, does the president have capacity to cancel those contracts? And indeed, if there is a contract which has been cancelled, are there any legal consequences for Kenya that the taxpayer will be required to pay for, I don't know, if there are some clauses?
Thank you. I think first and foremost is the caliber of people we elect. I throw it back to the voters. Are we ready to start using common sense now? Are we ready to start putting in place people who understand what legislation is about? Finance bill, there was serious and violent demonstrations against finance bill. And there were men and women who claimed to use common sense, sitting in parliament, discussing the very bill that thousands of people are being killed for outside. And then they pass it in a hurry, even as they run away, they take it for presidential assent. Then he says, I have dropped finance bill. And they clapped for him. You ask them, where was your brain when the brains of young people were being spilled with bullets on tarmac? And people were saying, don't pass finance bill. Where was your head? Because you pass it on a Tuesday, and then you see violent demonstrations, you come on Thursday. Since when did people pass bills amid tight security? Let me tell you. If the only authority you have as a state is the authority of the gun and the bullet and the violence, then you're a failed state. You are a state without authority. You are an immoral state because you do not have the moral authority of the people. Mahatma Gandhi, and is a Muslim, led one of the best demonstrations that were ever had in this world. Peaceful, non-violent disagreement with the government. And what did he have? No gun, no bullet, no tear gas, no army. Moral authority. Such a huge sense of moral authority. A very big portion of moral authority. The people aligned with him and walked for hundreds of kilometers in what they were calling the salt, they had gone to the salt demonstration. What I'm trying to say is that if as a government, the only authority you have left in your hands is that of the baton and the bullet and the gun and the tear gas, then you completely have lost the moral authority to govern the people, and you should resign. Adani, contracts, consequences. To start with, we as Kenyans never sanctioned Adani. Number two, we were never consulted. Number three, they did public participation on the removal of Rigathi Gachagua. But when it came to Adani, they forgot. They just forgot. You know, you can forget. It's no more. They forgot. It was forgettable that a contract worth 230 billion. You just forget. Hata hakuna ofisi ya MCA walifanya public participation. But for impeachment that cost 1.5 billion according to their attachment, their confession, that impeachment for 1.5 billion, they did not dare forget to do public participation. Should they say that Kenyans are going to compensate anything to Adani, I will look at this camera and tell Kenyans, I'm offering myself to file a case as the first petitioner against the Republic of Kenya using our taxpayers' money to compensate anybody within the Adani squares for a matter they forced down on our throats without our public participation. Let them show us one video, one, of a place they did public participation. Then we shall consent to our taxpayers' money going that road. But should there be none, then I am going to be the first one to file a petition. And this is a promise to Kenyans against this compensation of Adani from our pockets. Should there be a need to compensate Adani, si munajijua, expensive watches and all, start preparing to look for money from your own pockets. Kama kuna mtu alikula pesa ya Adani, tupewe list. People must take individual responsibility for any money that could have gone into that Adani contract. Individual responsibility. Let them pay for it.
Sorry to ask the question. Is there a provision in law that in fact public servants or politicians acting on behalf of Kenya, if they signed a contract like this and there are elements of mischief, that they take personal responsibility?
First and foremost, it's not a provision of law. It's just natural justice. There's something called privity to contract. If there is a contract, we are not aware. Kenyans needed to be aware there's a contract, full disclosure. Should there be one that we are not aware of, then we are not privy to that contract. there should have been privity of contract. We should have been aware as Kenyans that they have signed something on our behalf. It was so good. So if it was good and signed behind our backs, then it cannot be. It shouldn't hold water. It shouldn't be allowed to see the light of day. Wherever they signed in the dark, let them pay in the dark. But you cannot sign in the dark, put Kenyans in the dark, and then when things now hit the fan, I don't want to use that word, when those things hit the fan and it's spinning all over on our heads, you start saying we are paying together. Let me give you a short story. You know, there's a time a friend of mine called Jonah was learning how to drive, and we were in a new Isuzu Trooper. Those cars had just come. And when he took to the wheel, and we were doing very well, he was saying, yeah, you see how I'm good? Then he changed gears. You see how I'm driving so well? I'm so, me najua could drive. You know, he was excited. Only for him, at some point when he was bragging so much, to see a pickup 2 meters away, and the speed was quite high. Jonah did not step on the brakes. He slammed on the brakes. And of course, we touched the pickup. And for the first time, I heard him say, wait, we. He said, we have hit a car.
And all the time he was saying,
I'm good, I know. For the first time, it changed to we have hit a car. Now we have Jonah driving. And everything about Adani is, I am good, I am an expert, I'm going to get you ex-airport guys to come and fix your airport. And when it hits the fan, and the Americans are looking for somebody Baba called clean. We as a where did we become we? Ni yako mtoto ni wako muoshe. Kama amezaliwa na wewe mnyonyeshe. Hatuwezi kuwa amezaliwa na yeye na matiti sasa ni ya community tunanyonyesha. No.
But Fanya Mambo said that after every election, you give elected leaders the agency, you give them capacity to take decisions for you for the next 5 years.
In consultation.
And then also there's another issue that you indicated about spending 1.5 billion to kick Rigiji out of office.
Yes.
What is the source of that information?
Hey, let me tell you, God is very good. You know, when finance bill was passed, one of them went to a church, Comboni. In Kikuyu, Comboni is Kubora, which is confession. Actually, that's what it means. That's his name, Comboni, the confessor. That's what it means. And he went and made a confession in church. I think it was the Holy Spirit. Because kama angekuwa kwa street angesema. And he said each person was given 2 million. After the Rigiji impeachment, go and look at what the senator for Kiambu said. He said 1.5 billion was spent impeaching the deputy president.
So we can take his word to the bank.
The fact that nobody from government has come to unsay it, and the fact that they don't have a problem with it being mentioned tells you something.
But you and I know that Kenyan
all I'm
leaders,
saying
they
is
say anything and everything.
I'm reporting that the people who were in the kitchen are telling us the milk was boiling and it was spilling. Now, if I'm not in the kitchen, why are you asking me if the milk was spilling? What we need to do is to ask who else was in that kitchen. Did the milk boil and did it spill? If you're in the bedroom, my good friend, and your wife tells you, maziwa imemwagika juu ya, or you're in the shower, you'll ask the child, were you also in the kitchen? Or the house help, who was in the kitchen? Yo maziwa ilimwagikaji on the cooking gas. But you can't now come and ask the gardener, wewe gardener, maziwa imemwagika kwa kitchen. I am a mere gardener in a house where milk has poured in the kitchen. Please, let's keep asking the people who are in the kitchen. A lot more truth will come about how the milk poured. Kama gas maybe ilikuwa imefunguliwa maximum, ama sufuria ilitumiwa kidogo, ama hata labda haikumwagika iligawiwa paka. There's a lot.
Then also, before Father comes in, the issue of agency. I mean, are you going to subject every single decision made by all our elected leaders to public participation?
Every single horrible decision.
At what stage do we explain that it's a horrible decision?
We've been independent for more than 60 years. Okay? The last I checked. And we have never found it necessary to let people have our airport for 30 years. That's a very new thing. We are not asking for public participation when you are paying public servants their money. Pay them their salaries. We don't need public participation. I have always told people, if you are with your wife in the house and you want to buy a water dispenser, that's probably not a reason to have a meeting. But if you want to sell your son to your neighbor because you can't feed him, now that calls for quorum, because you are making a very fundamental decision. You want to sell your son. Mm-hmm. If you want to move your son from Kajinga High School to Nakibincha or Alliance High School, that's a decision you must make together with your wife. But if you want to buy him encyclopedia, that's a decision you make on the go. So we are telling politicians, we are not subjecting you to public participation on everything. But my friend, you used to sell chicken. Stop rushing to start selling airports. It doesn't work that way. That's too ambitious. Okay? You don't come from selling chicken to selling airports. It doesn't work that way. No, we go slowly. You sell chicken, you sell other things. When it comes to airports, we tell you, wait. This thing has been here since independence and earlier. Come slowly. Let's have a conversation. We need public participation. So when we talk of being involved in what is happening to this country, we are not saying we want to be involved about everything. Even when they want to pay civil servants, pay them. But as I've told you in your house, if your daughter is about to get married, and especially if she's about to get married to a pastor, then you must have a serious conversation as husband and wife. But if your daughter just wants to go for a sleepover to her cousin's house, then mother can make that decision without involving you. You can make that decision without involving the mother. But you not marry her off to some of these prosperity gospel pastors without having a serious conversation, the two of you.
Owidi, as you put together your thoughts on public participation, Father John is a Catholic priest. And before you came in, Nilkushtaki, last time you indicated that you were baptized, confirmed, married. I remember Kevin is your confirmation name. Yes. But as you take a breath, Father John, please go ahead. So that we give him time to compose himself. He wants to do press-ups and get some coffee.
you know, there are things, when you're given signs, Christ tells us we should know how to read the signs of times. You should know that these things will happen this way. You see, if we have leaders who do not have a conscience, that good and bad is the same thing to them, we cannot expect anything better. I mean, that is the truth we don't want to listen to. Because the fact that I am not touched by what my people are going through, I mean, I have no business to be their leader. And you've got all the signs that we have now. No? So all these things that we keep on hearing, of these people that we call them leaders, if I lose my moral credibility, I have no business to lead anybody. So it's not about the votes, it's about my moral credibility. And the worst thing is, if we don't change, we don't expect anything better. No? So, and actually from the looks of things, as the bishops were saying, we are not changing. We are not changing. So we cannot expect anything better. So either we say, look, we need leaders who have a conscience, and if you don't fit that out, or let's just prepare for a tragedy and see how to deal with it.
But Father John, in Kenya, there's an election every 5 years.
Yes.
People elect their leaders. Some become governors, others become the president and deputy, others are legislators. Who would you blame for this state of affairs?
Okay,
is it your parishioners?
My parish, all of us, including myself, because we go to vote, the leaders that we want to vote. And also, after voting, we keep quiet. We not only delegate, is it the powers, whatever they are, also delegate our conscience, our thoughts, which is wrong. But we still have a responsibility to tell our leader, listen, if you can't be the leader that you desire to be, you have no business to stay where you're staying. Just go home.
Is that theory?
I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. But of course, nowadays, people will be scared to say that. If I am in my parish, as a parish priest, and I am the worst example ever, I should be told to go home or to go somewhere else. But when you start becoming diplomatic with me, things will never get better there. The same thing to our country. We've already seen, for me, my point is, our leaders do not feel for their people.
Owidi, you do not feel for your people. You don't feel your people. You have lost touch. You have no idea that Mura is running on an empty tank.
So what has that got to do with rejecting money that a citizen has decided to work for God with? I remember it was King David who collected the resources that built the first temple, the ones that he left for his son Solomon. And I also remember it is Prophet Samuel who anointed the first king of Israel. From my interpretation, even from a layman's point of view, it is the church that is supposed to help in electing the leaders. And it is the leaders who are supposed to help in building the church. So even the Catholic standpoint of we don't want politics in church is, I don't know where we are going to. And we have had church leaders who, like politicians, have become very lazy. They want to listen to what the media is saying to decide what is right and what is wrong. What about when the media is also compromised? What about when the media begins to broadcast public road protests like they are doing a football match? What about when the media starts using adjectives, the ones I see they use when they are talking about the government of the day? You remember during President Moi's regime, every other day the Catholic bishops were in robes castigating the government. As soon as President Moi went away and Kibaki came in, they stopped. They forgot about it. When Uhuru came in, they never even remembered the word lie exists, because President Uhuru came up with four agenda items, the big four: housing, food security, manufacturing, and universal health care. These four, none of them took off, exactly none of them. Actually, it is President William Ruto who was trying now to take off with them that has put him in the problems. But the Catholic priests forgot to tell Uhuru, you are a liar. You went to Kisumu and launched universal health care and it didn't happen. You promised us food security, but instead, in 2022, before the elections, unga was 250 and it was impossible to find. You promised us manufacturing, and during your tenure, not exactly one manufacturing plant came into effect in Kenya. You promised us universal health care. Instead, you left us with a large bill for the NHIF. If the church is going to be part of the oppositions to keep the government in check, they must come with very clean hands, with fairness. But the height of insanity by the church is to try to reject a contribution by a human being who has decided to work for God, a person who has donated to the same church before. I went with President William Ruto to Kisii last year in November, and the bishop had organized a parish-wise contribution in which we found the Kisii people had already raised at Mosocho Karen Lotunga High School.
That is my home.
Yes,
Bishop
they had raised almost 80 million. And we were to top it up. Personally, I gave 50,000. It wasn't returned. President William Ruto, I think, gave 20 million. It wasn't returned. Rigathi Gachagua was president. He gave money. It wasn't returned. What is this gauge that now they are using, that they are now using to return this? Because somebody has compromised them. You know, even Jesus had followers. He had disciples who we believed were very holy. Kumbe there was one who wasn't holy at all. He was called Judas of Iscariot. So even in the Catholic bishops, they are bad ones. And the bad ones can't influence the others, especially if it is the leader who is probably bad. He would come with something and ask people, okay, we are going to have a press conference. This is what we are going to read. But you know, I am not going to participate in reading it. He did not participate. So let us be true to the Bible. Let us to be true to the Christian doctrine. And more so, the Bible requires us to respect the leadership of the country. And it says, if you do not respect that leadership, you are digging your own grave. Let the church respect the leadership, and they should not participate on the same platforms where politicians do participate. In fact, if they really believed there was something they needed the president to do differently as a church, they should have organized to meet the president where church leaders meet, where what the right hand does, the left should not know. And if the president refused, that is what they should bring to the public. They should not bring to the public and announce to the world that we are rejecting the money the president gave. How do you reject? The president is William Ruto. He gave you money as William Ruto to be blessed because he has been blessed before for contributing to the church.
Father John, I've seen you doing press-ups and taking coffee and taking Red Bull.
Those are facts.
Okay. First of all, one thing is, you quoted David and Solomon. God never needed a temple. Sorry? God never needed a temple. The temple was built for the people to go and worship God.
Just like the one
right?
was
Because you see, if you remember what God told David through Nathan, listen, I've been going on a tent for so many years.
Exactly. So
I don't need this. And actually, you don't need to do this for me. The temple is built for place of worship. The other thing is, a prophetic word, to be really prophetic, it becomes unpopular. And I'm very happy when I see how unpopular the word of the bishop is to some quarters, because it means it's effective.
So you're happy with this reaction?
Yes, because it's effective. Because the bishop's point has gone home. Because, if everybody is praising what the bishop said, then I'll still say what's happening. No? I mean, you see, when there's a lot of opposition, when Saul was converted, it's Damascus moment. Even he did whatever he did, nobody believed him until he was killed. We read about Saul or Paul, but you don't know what he went through. But if one look at his life, that man suffered until he died. Because the people were never convinced that this guy was truly converted. So the very fact that some people will not be convinced about the message of the bishops and so on, it won't change that message. And over the years, that's how the Catholic Church has been working, and it will keep working. Now, the church doesn't need the money of President Ruto. I mean, before Ruto was born, the church was there, right? So we don't need his money, right? And he will leave, and the church will still be there. So, and the church is not obligated by anyone to take money from anyone, be it a president or whoever it is. Those are our own thinking, that's our own cultural way of thought. So there is nowhere written that the church has to take money from somebody. Okay, also you cannot say, where was the church the other time? I mean, if you do something noble today, I cannot start telling you, where were you 10 years ago? Why didn't you do that? That doesn't make any sense. It is the moment we are called to do this, and we are called to act. So I am very happy that this message is getting some oppositions or some challenges, because it means that the message is effective. Because prophetic messages are never popular. But the thing is, they are effective, they work.
Now, two questions, Father John. Yeah. A member of the audience is throwing a spanner in the works, is asking that if somebody is a billionaire and he wants to become a priest, and another person is a peasant, are they charged the same fees? That is somebody, a member of the audience, who wants to know. And then the second question, the parishioners at Soweto, when the president pronounced that he's going to give a donation, they even requested for a bus. He said he's a farmer, he's going to sell some of his produce and buy for them a bus. The parishioners were very happy, they were very excited. They clapped for him, suggesting that they were happy that there was 300,000 going for a choir, another 300,000 going for those people, and then there was money, and then they said also, for the father's house, and then also resources for the bus. So it would appear that the parishioners were very excited, while the church leadership has taken a different tangent.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, you don't need any school fees when you go for the priesthood. Mm-hmm. So whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. You'll still go for the priesthood. Mm-hmm. So you don't need any school fees. So whether one is a billionaire or one is a pauper, we have had very fantastic priests, bishops, saints who really came from really the lowest of the society. So that should not be a problem. No? Mm. Then secondly, You know, in the church, it's not about what is popular. It's about what is right. You know, the people might want a bus. They might want a building, whatever it is. But is it the right thing to do? Right? Mm-hmm. Should we not have morality in the things that we do? So it's not about popularity. And, you know, also the church is not about populations. Huh? You know, let me speak for the Catholic Church. We are not actually bothered so much about how many people believe in what, because we don't count people and so on. But we are bothered what is actually right thing to do. So even if my church wants that bus, and I feel as a priest that this is not the right thing to do, I won't accept it. It's not about the numbers. Because matters of conscience, matters of morals are not about the numbers. So you can do your numbers in your rallies, in your policies, and whatever. When you come to church, there are no numbers. That's why we don't even vote and so on. If you're told this is your bishop, that's it. This is your pope, that's it. So whether the people of Kayole wanted the bus and so on, I mean, the bishop has a reason to reject that money.
Owidi, I see you've taken a Red Bull. Sorry, you've taken an energy drink.
You know, I'm not sure I'm really talking to the priest.
This is Father John Weboootsa.
Because Father John
Missionary
tries to say God does not need a temple. And in words of Nathan told King David that I am living in a tent all this time and you are living in a house made of cedar. But that is not my point. My point is on the 8th of December, 2019, President Uhuru Kenyatta in the St. Francis of Assisi in Ruiru donated 3 million to that church and promised them another 4 million. And they did not reject it. And when we were in Kisii, President William Ruto, this very one, donated money, 20 million to the church, and they did not. At what point in time did the policy of the Catholic Church change, or it was induced by somebody or some resources somewhere? And again, if the Catholic priests in Soweto can ask for A, B, C, D, it therefore follows it is not the position of the Catholic Church to reject donations from government leaders. It is somebody doing his own thing because at that point in time he happens to be the leader of the Catholic Church and he does not like the donor. And first of all, when he rejects this, he rejects it before the press, including the international press. So the whole idea is not fighting donations in church. It is fighting the donor. Taking it to the press means he must make the donor look as dirty, as corrupt as possible. I don't agree with church leaders calling the press to tell the press we are going to refund the money. Money which was taken. Have they also suspended the priests who took the money? Have they suspended the church officials who requested for this money? And they also need to tell us why they have begun treating President William Ruto the way Catholic Church treated President Daniel Arap Moi, but let Uhuru and Kibaki escape with everything. Is it because they were Catholics?
No, before Father John comes in, I see Fanya Mambo here.
Wants to say something.
Has been waiting by the side for a while.
Okay, Fanya Mambo.
And is copiously taking notes.
You know, I'll start from where he stopped.
Father John Owidi.
If you made a mistake today as a newspaper and published something that is false, you would be told to publish an apology of equal measure on the newspaper. If you do it on a Thursday, you'll do it on a Thursday. If it was a 2-page column, you're supposed to do ideally an apology the same size as the mistake or the, you know. I call the press to publicize myself, vile natoanga 7 million in church. Then you have a problem with us calling the press to reject. If you did it in private, we'll return in private. If you come and publicize you're giving us 7 million, we will publicize when we are rejecting the 7 million. It's about equal measure. It's about the apology. It's the punishment must fit the wrong. You cannot punish a chicken murderer the same way you'd punish someone who's killed a child of a human being. You stole your neighbor's chicken. Most of the time they are called petty offenses. Wanafungwa hapa miezi 3 with community labor. You go and kill somebody's child. Now that's another different story. You are in for a very long time. So you don't come and publicize yourself and call the media to tell them you're giving us 5 million, and then you want us to come in public, in private, and tell you we are returning your money. Apana, uliita media, tutaita media. So next time, it's equal. Now, why is he coming after the bishops? I mean, he's been going to all sorts of churches. Why are you now deciding that the Catholic Church exists after bishops have made their noise? And now you're coming with money. You're basically trying to buy them. So we will not accept. There is malice aforethought. If he had come before the bishops' letter, it would have made sense. But how bishops make a pronouncement on Thursday, and fantastically, you've remembered, by the way, this is someone who's been going to Protestant churches all along. Na kwanza akienda Mount Kenya anendanga na ile Bible mpya kubwa sana. Huku ingine he can carry an older Bible. But Mount Kenya, it used to be prayer rallies. I thank God Mount Kenya is now waking up. All of a sudden, Catholic churches have started to exist. And you started coming with money. No, we are not buying money. By the way, these are churches that have existed and have had buses before even President Kenyatta the First was born. So you come into a church that has had buses. When the fathers walikuwa nalala nje before some of these people started. No, the fathers have had houses, okay? You know, when the priest said that it's not about what is popular, it's about what is right. In this country, you can bring a rabbit on this table, a male rabbit. And you ask how many people say that this rabbit is female. 200 people say it's female. Then 3 people say it's male. So you want us to accept that it's female because 200 people have said it is female? No, we will stick to it and say this is a male rabbit. It's like the whole issue of these people who've decided to take the bulk of the alphabet. You know, nowadays, if I mention it, it will not happen on YouTube. So you have to be clever. They've taken the bulk of the alphabet and they're using colors of something that happens in the sky. I went somewhere and mentioned it, and I realized that they cut it off from YouTube and TikTok and everywhere because they want to protect that nonsense. The church comes and says this is unnatural, and it's not going to be. It's not a popular decision, and we are not asking to be popular. We are just asking that people do the right thing. So if you have a problem with the right thing, the people of Soweto, we are sorry. By the way, we are so sorry. It's not going to be accepted by the church. I know it's popular to have a bus. Before that church was given that bus, it existed. And even if that bus doesn't come, by the way, ukienda sai Catholic Church, there was mass today and there will be mass next Sunday, as long as God keeps those people alive. So, yeah, and even today there was mass, and tomorrow morning, in fact, there's mass every day of the week in a Catholic church. So with or without the bus, it doesn't stop that church from existing. Let us focus on the right things that bring people to churches. I have hated to be defenders of people. And I've always had Owidi here coming and telling us how Uhuru promised 4 things and he never did anything. But he's quick to tell us how President Ruto has succeeded in avoidable housing. Oh, affordable. It's avoidable because we could have done without. But the very first projects that were launched by this government, and I'll remind him of Ngara, you cannot have come in and within 6 months built houses. They literally were launching the houses that Uhuru had started. And I hate defending Uhuru. He's had his mistakes as a human being. But let's give credit where it's due. Even Ngara, I remember there were 288, 488. And I love the president because he's one person who loves mentioning figures, especially when they are big. The very first housing projects that they ever opened to the public and launched, my good friend, they were not built in 6 months. They had been in existence and they had come from the previous administration. I am not saying Uhuru is a saint. He's never been. In fact, I don't hold brief for him because he's never paid me and he can't pay me, and I'll say it on TV. So I don't want to go there. But even, let us be fair sometimes when we have a man who is not here to defend himself. Let us not try to paint the picture that he did nothing. My friend, if you go to Machakos Level 4 Hospital, people will tell you how they used to carry. You people run hospitals. They'll tell you how people used to be told that when you're going to give birth as a mother, you carry. You know, he's been blessed because all his children are past university. But you've not come to this country at an age where a mother carries a basin, a soap, he can tell you, and a few other things. The changing of the Level 4 hospitals happened in a big way. I am a person who has witnessed people planning And let me tell you this, Owidi. Before those hospital reforms that Uhuru was speaking about, and they said he brought equipment that was not working and so on, and a lot of nonsense. The cancer screening equipment, and I beg you in the name of God to go to Kenyatta National Hospital and ask. You used to be booked for the cancer screening equipment like a month or two. You have to plan to be sick. You needed to plan to be sick because that equipment was only available and people used to queue. And if you're not being screened on that one, my dad died of cancer in 2011. And I know what we went through because now we had to pay for the private scans around here. And it's about 21,000, which many Kenyans cannot afford. It went to Machakos level 4, go and check. It went to Thika level 4. Those equipment, and this, if you go to Kiambu, people from Nairobi now started booking themselves for the Kiambu. So there are a few things that happened within the health sector. And all you need to do, I beg you, call any doctor at Kenyatta National Hospital and ask them what used to happen before the cancer screening equipment moved from the only one that was available. Na ilikuwa sometimes in a breakdown. Then munaambua ulikuwa umeshedulwa 2 months, we endelea kuumia na cancer, add another 1 month because now there was a 4 days delay. So there is a lot of good things that Uhuru did. Let him retire and rest. There are many other things that were not good he did. I am not proud because I don't think he's supposed to have done that. That's not what Kenyans voted him for. But as a retired president, let's not always keep focusing on yule dereva alitutoa Kisumu mpaka Nairobi alikuwa mbaya. So let's not discuss the driver who is moving us from Nairobi to Mombasa. And by the way, brakes zishaangolewa, the car is moving with headlights on, everybody is hooting at us. Tumefika Emali, we are hitting every bump. By the way, inagonga bump, unaona inatafutwa huku, inashikwa huku. Everybody is screaming. They are putting their lights and they are saying, this bus is being driven badly. But we who are inside the bus are being told, keep quiet, let the driver get you to Mombasa. Kama by the time umefika Emali unapigiwa honi na gari zote kwa barabara, unaashiwa mataa mpaka zile gari zingine zinakuondokea. Na unaambiwa uko ndani ya hii basi usiulize swali. This is the bus we are in. The driver is not aware. Hata brakes ziliharibika hajui. We are just going downhill at a very high speed. So we have to tell him, wait, driver, anza kuvuta handbrake pole pole, park. Let us breathe and let us tell you you're going in the wrong direction. Adani. Now it's been cancelled. The people who were saying it is good are here. Now what are they going to tell us?
We'll ask Owidi to respond to that. But before Owidi comes in, Father John, Owidi has raised fundamental issues. I don't know whether it's just a coincidence. And he indicates that when a Catholic is in charge, I guess making reference to President Kenyatta and President Kibaki, that the Catholic Church is indifferent. That when it's an non-Catholic, then the Catholic Church is super high octane.
Yeah. Okay, to be honest, we have had moments when we were supposed to speak, but we never spoke.
As the Catholic Church?
Yes. Now, in my almost 25 years of priesthood, right, there was never a time I felt that is about the president is a Catholic or not a Catholic. I mean, I never liked Catholic presidents. I mean, Uhuru Kenyatta was not my favorite, right? And I could even say it, no? The way also the president was my favorite. That has nothing to do with the religion, no? So whether one is Catholic or not, we'll still speak our mind. And then the other thing is, we don't speak so that people can say you're right or you're wrong. We speak what we see that it's our duty to speak. Now, you take it, you leave it as another story altogether. Because we are not begging someone to say, look, please take our message. No. Or we're not going to look for numbers who accept. No. So, but if something is wrong. If one doesn't feel for his people, doesn't feel for his people. So whether 1 million people agree with it or not, it doesn't change anything. And of all these years, we've had an experience that when something is right, you can make all the noise you want, but you wait for the right moment, and the right moment always comes. No? And then also, you see, the church is not something that you can, when you start talking about how the church deals with its funds and so on, I'd like you to quote a document, because we do have documents that guide all these things. Sio mambo na kienyeji. I hear people talking about yatakana chukue sadaka hii na hii. Ulisoma hiyo wapi? because we do have guidelines. So I like to hear someone quoting according to your policy on 1, 2, 3, and 4. But what do? We just make statements, no, without qualifying those statements, and many times you are wrong. Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, Father. Sorry, I almost call you Father Owidi.
No, this matter of the church we can argue forever, but I want to make a few statements here. You can go and dilly-dally over them, and you go and think over them. On 15th of October, 2023, while speaking in Narok, Rigathi Gachagua asked the area MP that he must donate to the church 5 million because the governor was going to buy for the church a bus. That you can deal with. If that was wrong, the church, even if they didn't refund it, they would have said it was wrong. Instead of waiting for Ruto to do what the church has been accepting and asking for, then you embarrass him. If you didn't ask for it, that would be a different story. Number 2, in the year 2000, there was a man called Father Kaisa. He criticized the government briefly. He was just a father, he was not even a bishop. Father Kaisa was kidnapped. Let me not say kidnapped. Ile wanatumia hii sana siku hizi when people
abduction.
He was abducted. And he was found shot at close range from the back of the head. The government was then headed by a Catholic. The Catholic bishop was shot. They didn't say anything. That was a Catholic priest who criticized the government, was abducted and killed. So the Catholic Church has no moral authority to criticize President William Ruto. They have no moral authority. If they want to get that moral authority, they must start changing their things now. And they change it pole until we are used that in Catholic Church, we don't donate. In Catholic Church, any arrest is abduction. In Catholic Church, if the president is a Catholic, then you don't touch until he's out of office. Then we will accept. But when you want to treat people, and you see, Fanya Mambo is telling me to go and look at a cancer equipment at Kenyatta Hospital. What is a cancer equipment to a government which has a budget of 3.6 trillion? It is like telling me that a governor has built a dispensary and bought, what have they bought? And they have bought a stethoscope. So I go and see the governor has bought a stethoscope. 3.6 trillion budget of Kenya, and only a cancer equipment and Kenyatta is something Uhuru did for health sector that I should go and see. I think we are making things too trivial. We are making things which are serious very trivial. If Uhuru wanted to change the health sector, he should have done what President William Ruto is doing today. President William Ruto noticed NHIF was a club for only those who pay. Then he brought a new system, which is going to ensure even those who are unable to pay anything will be treated and for free. And of course, you don't expect it to be launched today and tomorrow it works perfectly like a clockwork. That would not happen. Even in the Catholic Church, when they move from one church to another or one priest house to another, things get lost. They search for things. Things don't go right. So we must always accept. So, Fanya Mambo told me that I should not keep on mentioning Uhuru. When you are doing evaluation, comparison must be the next word you are working with. When I'm evaluating Dismus, whom do I compare with? That he is a good man, better than who? Because we cannot come here keep on telling us, oh, Ruto has failed to do this, Ruto has failed. When everybody before him did 10 times worse than him. So we cannot do evaluation without comparison. So that one, let's just agree. But if we are going to do evaluation, we compare. Otherwise, we don't do any evaluation of anyone. We get things go. And I heard you talking about Adani. Let me tell you something about PPP. There is what is called PIP, privately initiated partnership. So this is one of them. After we had agreed that Adani was going to do these things, due diligence had to follow. In the process of due diligence, information finally came. And for some good reason, like it is God working, America and also theirs was ready. They took Adani to court. And President William Ruto, like a man who always listened to his people, acted on that information instantly. You should come out and say, this is the president we need in this country. If he was the bad president we have been talking about, he would have said, no, they can take him to court, but we'll still work with him. President William Ruto, on the basis of the information that he got from the investigative agencies plus international partners, of which United States is one of them, he acted immediately. And didn't we clap?
No, allow us to not allow him to get away with that.
I'm not getting away, I'm here.
We sat here with him on the 18th of September.
Yes.
Let them get the clips of what he said, because I told him there have been serious and violent demonstrations against Adani in India, in Australia, and in Bangladesh. And we told him these are credible news houses. It's not TikTok. These are credible international news houses saying that the government of Australia is unhappy with him. The government of Bangladesh is unhappy with him. India has opened a myriad of court cases. I was here 18th. The clips are here. Luckily, it was this very studio. What other due diligence? Listen, what other due diligence did your president need? Kama sisi raia, we who are just consumers of those international media houses, I don't want to market here, walipe marketing. We are consumers of that information, and we are able to tell you, a citizen, stop this nonsense, don't go that far. You people are just cheering the president and clapping for him. Akifika akikwama, akifika akikwama, then akisema no, it is bad, then you clap for him again for saying that is bad. And by the way, let me also tell you something. Other than them now cheering him when he's making a mistake, because that's what they were doing to our president. In fact, I usually tell God, I thank you, I know my enemies. Now protect me from my friends. Because there's nothing as bad as people who are cheering you when you're making a mistake, and they know you're making a mistake and they are not telling you. You have the benefit of meeting Fanya Mambo here, and he's telling you Adani is bad, Adani is bad, Adani is bad. You should have told your boss. Now that it has been cancelled, what are we going to do about it? And I've also told these people, haya, mumetukimbiza mumetufikisha kwa mlango ya Adani. Na sisi wa Kenya tulikuwa tunaambia, you did public participation on impeachment of Gachagua, you forgot public participation on Adani, which was 230 billion. We are here now. He has said that we are not going to proceed with Adani. Now they want us to clap for the president. I asked them, again, you've taken us to that ugly place we never wanted to be. First, you create a problem. And we are telling you it's a problem, you're not listening. And then you want to become a hero. Now he's telling us we should be happy that our president is listening and he's cancelling deals. You create a problem, and then we come and thank you for removing the problem you created. And we were telling you it's a problem. We cannot thank you. We cannot even clap for you, because you created the problem in the first place. And when you were creating it, we were telling you it's a bad problem. Don't go there. So you cannot come now and expect Kenyans to say, oh, you are a hero. You've saved us from Adani. Who? You brought it.
Okay. You know, Fanya Mambo, there is no government worth its salt that is going to make decisions based on newspaper reports picked from other countries. We are not going to make decisions based on newspaper cuttings that you have brought and say, here it was done. These newspapers, there are so many of them who report lies, who report propaganda. And you also remember,
if those newspaper cuttings are not from the US.
I'm very patient with you people. You know, there was a time President William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta were being taken to Hague. And everybody was like, oh no, they have been indicted. Oh, they have been criminals. They went there and won the case. Adani had not been taken to any court yet and won the case. In fact, even now, if you got a hard-headed president, he would have said, let him go to court in America and let him lose the case before we cancel the deal. But being the listening president with which he was, having instigated his own investigation, he was waiting for it. And when it finally arrived, he made the big decisions without fear, favor, or even embarrassment. He used the information that was brought to him to make a decision that was far-reaching and was excellent. And cancelling contracts has been in this country since, I don't know when. Aror was cancelled, Uhuru cancelled the development of that very airport. By now, we would not be having the Adani problem. We cancel these things when we don't agree with the development partners, when we don't agree with the contractors, when we don't agree with the method, when we don't agree with the plan, when we don't agree with the... We can cancel. Like this particular case,
with Mwananchi,
we have cancelled this.
When we don't
because we have
agree
got
with Mwananchi,
adverse information about Adani. But there is no government worth its salt that is going to use newspaper cuttings to make decisions. We are not going to have government that is going to use the shoutings of 2 people there, 10 people there, hired people there to make decisions. We are going to make decisions on facts, figures, and logic.
As we come to the conclusion, Father John, somebody is asking, what is the difference between a diocesan missionary and a diocesan priest and a missionary priest? And then you could give your closing remarks.
Okay. A diocesan priest is one who is ordained for the diocese, normally where he comes from, though one can also be a diocesan priest in another diocese. But he works under the bishop of the diocese, so he doesn't go outside the diocese normally. No. A missionary priest belongs to an order, a religious order that has got a charism. All these orders have got what we call a charism. It means an orientation. For instance, like for us, we go to the poor, the most abandoned.
For you, are a Comboni missionary.
I'm a Comboni missionary. So for us, we are oriented, if you look at us, we are in Marsabit, we are in Lodwar, we are in Korogocho, we are in Gong, Masaini, and so these are hardship areas. And the moment they become developed, we move to some other places. Some others are doctors, like the sisters who are in the Mater Hospital and so on. Others are teachers, others are engineers and so on. So that's the difference, no? So the diocesan remains within the diocese normally, but then the missionary goes all over, no? So the other thing is all of them are missionaries, because also the diocesan is a missionary within their own diocese. Yeah.
And then another question is there an upper limit at what age somebody can become a priest, a brother, or a sister?
Yeah, okay. Normally, they prefer to recruit up to almost 30 years. Yeah, because after that, if someone is more than 30, you put them into this training of 10 years. It's not an easy thing. Someone will be 40 years when he gets ordained. However, there are special cases. There are people who are ordained at 50s and so on, and so there are always special cases. And also we do have permanent deacons, people who are, they are not priests, but they are clergy. They are deacons, no? And those ones, they can be deacons at what do you call it, advanced age. Yeah.
Okay, now if you could then give your concluding remarks.
Now, my concluding remark is, one, we need not to be used in double language. I mean, we should not be, we should not lie. That's the thing. And for me, the danger that I see is like talking about our environment. Like it's okay for me to tell a lie. Tomorrow I say, no, I never lied. I said this and this. So we're used to this kind of a thing, and it's not good, because that means our moral credibility is dead. And then also the other thing is, let us get used to appreciate one another, because we are not competing in this country. But now it looks as if you're competing. We are dividing the country into various levels. And lastly, we should not be afraid to stand for what is right. Even if you're in the minority, just stand for what is right. Because at the end of the day, it is what is just that has got the final word. Yeah.
Thanks, Father John. Fanya, Mambo, you may be in the minority, but please give us your concluding remarks.
I think mine is very simple. I started by thanking the people of Embu last week. This week I have the people of Moranga to thank. The pot is boiling nicely. They said there are some speeches they don't want, which is a democratic right. I mean, we have a deputy president we didn't vote for. The Constitution never idealized or imagined we'd have a situation where people would lead us without our consent, where people would lead us without our direct
universal
conferment of powers to lead. And I thank the people of Moranga for saying no. We thank you, but respectfully, no. We would have wanted to be led by someone we voted for. All other factors notwithstanding, no. And this is happening very nicely. It's going to happen across the country. And I think it's time that this administration got to realize and to understand the sanctity of the ballot. Now, you can do everything else in parliament and every other else, but the sanctity of the ballot has to be respected. I have never liked Rigiji. I have always made it very clear. In fact, I never wanted him to be my deputy president. I didn't vote for him. I've made it very clear. I also didn't vote for Ruto. However, when the constitutional rights of a person I have never liked are infringed upon, when his human rights are affected, I become a defender for those human rights and I forget the person that I do not like. I never thought I would one day sit in a room and speak well of Rigiji. Even now, I'm not speaking well of him. I'm speaking well of his constitutionally provided for rights. And those are the ones we fight for. Never misconstrue us for anything else. So the fact that those other people are the ones who infringed upon his constitutional rights mean that we came out to fight. And Owidi here is my good friend. Ile siku na wewe watakuchezea kabaya wakutoe mahali huko wanko. Tell me, I will fight for your constitutional rights in as much as we don't agree in the studio.
Owidi, you know you've been given
I
the
will
last
say
word.
that Rigiji has constitutional rights, but when he himself breaks the constitution, he loses those rights. Number one, this one I want the Catholic bishops to go and read the book of 2 Samuel chapter 7. After they have read that, they will tell me something. I also want Anyolo to tell me what they did about the abduction and subsequent assassination of Father John Kaiser. I also want him to tell me what they did about the donation that was made in Narok on 15th of October 2023. I also want him to tell me about the donation President Uhuru Kenyatta made at the Francis of Assisi Church in Ruiru in November 2019. And why they had to embarrass the president when it is the church who asked for these things. And then they must stop being partisan. Thank you.
I've seen Father John looking at you. I suspect you want 2 minutes to, for an instant right of reply.
Yeah. No, one thing is, just to correct him, Father Kaiser died during the Moi regime, not after Moi. And number two, every year we commemorate we celebrate actually Father Kaiser. And maybe he doesn't know that the church is so much keen to understand what exactly happened. You know, the Catholic Church doesn't go to the papers every day, and we shall never go. Even if there's so much pressure, we will never go, because that's how we act. Archbishop Anyolo did what was right. He did what was right, and he never just woke up and said, you know, he doesn't need any vote. He doesn't need any vote, no? And he did what was right, whether it's popular or not, you know. And you don't force your money to the church. I mean, we don't need let him take that money to more university. It's crumbling. Take it there. No, we don't need that money. As Fanya Mambo said, we had the buses, we had the houses. So we should not bring little politics in church. No? We don't have to take the president's money or anybody's money. So it should not even be an issue. No? And that one, I don't think we even waste time to discuss that. No. So what I will say is, we stand by what the bishop said. That statement is what we said, and we don't regret about it. It's tough for others. It's a bitter pill to be swallowed, but that is it. Yeah.
Fanya Mambo, thanks for your time. Owidi, thanks for your time. And our guest panelist, your guest panelist, Father John Weboootsa, is an independent man. You know, he speaks his mind, human rights, Comboni Missionary. And for our audience back at home, you know, time is money. Thanks for giving us your time. See you next Sunday. Asante sana.